And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. All I can do is ask, hit subscribe, watch, comment. Please keep the comments coming and share with your family and friends because the insanity, it's not stopping. Look, let me be clear. Trump dug himself a hole with this disaster in Texas. DOGE cut NOAA and FEMA funding, and the effects were obvious. Absolutely obvious after the lack of warning for the floods over this weekend. Now, Trump went on and he told reporters that he was praising the response because the disaster could have been worse. Okay, always could be worse. But this is the last thing that I think grieving families want to hear. Ben Meiselas, my co-host, and I on Political Beatdown, we ended up talking about it where we showed this clip of Trump and explained that thoughts and prayers, they're just not enough in this situation. So what did I do? I ended up writing as part of it another Substack. And I called it When the System Drowns Its People. And I wish to God that I had the information during our Political Beatdown episode where I found out that there's even more insult to the injury. The fact is that the state of Texas is sitting on, ready for this one, $30 billion in a rainy day trust fund, in some sort of a slush fund. $30 billion. And my friends, that's not a metaphor. That's a literal pile of untouched cash that could have been used to purchase sirens, early warning systems, elevated infrastructure, floodplain mapping, and staffing to support the whole damn thing. Instead, it sat in a fucking bank account while children drowned in their camp bunks. All right? So when he wants to talk about praising somebody and you got Governor Abbott sitting there, $30 fucking billion sitting in a rainy day fund. Play the clip.
Here's the clip of Trump that I wanted to show everybody where I said, look, objectively, it's been a terrible response by Texas and the feds. We need data. Like, we know that there were critical vacancies at the National Weather Service, at NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, and FEMA, which would play critical roles in this in all aspects of the coordination. And I think as you present a timeline of July 4th, right, an initial alert goes out at 1 that there are flash floods. I'm not sure to the severity of what ultimately took place. By about 3:45, it says go to higher grounds, hurry up to higher grounds. And then evacuations don't really start for several hours after. So what I'm really focused on as a lawyer, as someone who cares about the facts, is what went on between that kind of 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. period. And then going back on Thursday, as we saw that there was going to be bad weather happening, what efforts were happening? Were there pre-positioned FEMA people? You know, what level of coordination was taking place between the feds, the state, and the local? There's deeper systemic issues about why Kerr County didn't have emergency alarm systems, deeper systemic issues of why were you having these camps right next to the Guadalupe River, where people know that's a very dangerous river that actually has a history of flooding and causing deaths. You go back to the 80s and you'll see that that river has a track record of having, you know, horrific situations happen. So there's systemic issues, there's short-term issues. We need to investigate and get to the bottom of it. But this is not a high five moment, right? But when Donald Trump was talking about it during the cabinet meeting press conference, he said his message is congratulations, everyone, great work. And it's a lot like he said during COVID. There could have been tens of millions of deaths. The fact that there was only 1 million deaths, I should get credit for it. But also with COVID, he says it was a hoax. It's both a hoax and not a big deal, but he should get credit for it. He started the vaccine, but he hates the vaccine. It's just a bunch of word salad, but dangerous word salad that leads to no clarity. So here we go. Here's what Donald Trump said at the press conference. Let's play it.
Response has been incredible, and the fact that we got along so well, I don't know. I don't even think that's a political thing. but we got along so well, and it was so unified. I think a lot of lives have been saved. That could have been as bad as it was, and you could have lost double or triple. This thing was just really horrible. Well, congratulations on a great job, and appreciate it. I know you're going down. I'll be going down on Friday with.
Yeah. So he says, great work, great job. I'm going down Friday. We saved lives. Congratulations. I can only imagine, and I hate playing this game. Former President Biden during this said, great job, great work, while over 100 people have died. That's a huge, huge death event with over 100 people dying, people still missing.
I'm not even thinking about Joe Biden, to be honest, and what they would say if he made that comment. I'm thinking more about the families that are grieving right now. All right. The last thing that I want is to hear my president turning around and congratulating those people in the NOAA or National Weather Service that did not get the warnings out that cost me the grief that I'm going to live with for the rest of my life, because I lost a child, I lost a sibling, I lost a spouse or whomever. I don't even know how I would respond, to be honest with you. I was so taken back at the callousness of it. And I don't understand why. It wasn't even a comment that was necessary. That's the whole point. You know, when you have these off the cuff sort of comments that keep coming and so on. And I get what he was trying to say. He was trying to say we did a good job. It was, again, patting them all on the back. He wanted to pat his cabinet on the back for, I don't know, for breathing. But at the end of the day, you don't thank it. First of all, too soon. It's just too soon. You didn't do a good job. And instead, what he should have said is, he said, this is an occurrence that never should have happened or should have been limited in scope. There are serious mistakes that were made. I'd fucking blame it on Elon and DOGE for cutting the NOAA or NWS. I'd blame it on DOGE and say it was a mistake. And immediately what we intend to do is to revamp the entire warning system to ensure that this never happens again. And we're going to do it in honor of the lives that were lost, the tragic loss of life as a result of Mother Nature. That's what I would have said. You come off, it's human, it's real, and it's truthful, and it's honest. And instead, it's like, hey, congratulations, you did a great job. Great job. I'm going to go down on Friday. Maybe I'll throw some paper towels to people to help clean up the dirt in their kitchen. I don't know yet. But whatever it is, you did a great job. No, the grief is too fresh, and it's too painful.
And you see where, and they go right away to, we did a great job. And then they go right away into religion, right? Which is pray, National Day of Prayer. This is, an act of God, but like we need to just, reflect on how blessed we are, that there was not a bigger casualty. Let us all pray together. And look, I'm fine. If you want to pray, you could pray, but this is their playbook. Right now it's just prayer. It's really, it's unfathomable. I can't wrap my head around it. You should wrap your head around it. This is what the government's job is, to wrap your head around it. I'll just give an example. Imagine you have something traumatic happens to you. You go into a hospital and there's supposed to be a top surgeon who's there, who's always been there, who knows how to save this kind of, catastrophe that's happening to you. But that surgeon's been forced out. Instead of dealing with the top veteran surgeon, you're now dealing with an intern or someone who's trained to do it, but doesn't really know how to do it, doesn't have all of those years of experience. And then an event happens, and then they go, nothing we could have done about it at all. We couldn't have done anything. The 6 vacancies that they had in Texas were critical roles, including the meteorologist coordinator, like the person who's supposed to coordinate with the state and local officials. The veteran person was pushed out. And then there were other critical vacancies in Texas as well, of people who were pushed out. And so ultimately, if you don't have those people, and the Trump regime's like, well, This happened late at night, 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m. What could we have done? They'll say, look, the National Weather Service did issue a warning at 1 a.m. They did. I've seen it. They've issued a warning at 1 a.m. Then later at 3:30 or 3:45, it says go to higher ground, but the evacuations don't start until really 2 or 3 hours after that. Now, the mayor, who's the judge, and other local officials say they didn't get the alert, whether they were sleeping or didn't get it or however. The point is, it's supposed to be more than just pressing a button at the National Weather Service and the feds. How many alerts do you get? How many emails do you get? How many messages do you get? Especially if I'm getting an alert at 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. That's not what I remember when the fires were here in LA. I was sleeping through the alerts, which happened early when I had to evacuate. And fortunately, I had family members and other people who were nearby who were calling me over and over again, and they were able to kind of communicate and tell, but I was getting the alerts very loudly. What the federal government is supposed to do in situations like this is they're supposed to be involved more than just one alert. They're supposed to, especially if you're in areas, 1 a.m., 3 a.m., remote areas like camps, you're supposed to have a plan and come up with a way to handle these evacuations in the right way. And we got rid of the key people there. Kristi Noem, who's the Secretary of Homeland Security, she said, I can't wrap my head around any of this. This is just too much for me to wrap my head around. Here, play this clip.
I still can't get over the 45 minutes. I mean, from alert, 45 minutes to respond to the high level of water. I mean, I had one of your swimmers on. We had on Fox and Friends for the Coast Guard, and he said he didn't even feel safe getting in that water. So how can we expect, kids to respond in 45 minutes?
Yeah, I can't get over it either, Lawrence. I mean, I really can't wrap my head around it. The alerts went out several hours in advance, but the rise in the level of water and how quickly that happened just really was unprecedented for this area, how quickly it happened in that alert and what those individuals had to do to get to safety and what those counselors and camp directors tried to do to get those girls to safety was absolutely unbelievable. Hugging those parents on Saturday as they were looking for their children. I talked to one father who found one of the best friends of his daughter while he was still looking for his daughter, hugged one of the grandpas who was looking for his granddaughter. Yesterday, Franklin Graham and I had a call and a prayer and shared some scriptures with families at a church that were still waiting to find their loved ones and spent some time visiting with them and talking to them about this difficult situation. It really is unbelievable, the tragedy that we are seeing. And my hope and prayer is that we can find by these people with their family members as soon as possible.
We join you, Secretary, in those prayers.
Seriously?
Prayers.
Fuck you, Kristi Noem. Okay? 2-finger salute to Kristi Noem. Let me say this, all right? Fuck you in your thoughts and your prayers. That's the way that I see it. At this point in time, this was a tragic mistake. DOGE with their bullshit, fraud, waste, abuse, cutting National Weather Service, NOAA, and other government agencies that are designed to protect us, the American people. All right? That's their job, to protect us. And what does their entire budget is equal to something like 0.1% of our national budget. Think about what we're talking about here. Now, I'm not saying that every person would have been saved. I don't know that. All right. I don't have, sadly, a crystal ball where I could predict that type of an answer. But even if one person was saved, simply because the National Weather Service had the ability within which to sound the alarm, and all of a sudden, everybody would have known maybe these children could have gotten to higher ground. Maybe. I don't know. But now the parents, families, friends, the country has to live with this in our minds as to what could have been done to prevent this tragedy. What could have been done? Well, how about putting back the system in place? How about spending a couple of dollars and upgrade the national warning system? How about something like that, so that in areas like here in Texas, ruby red Texas, that they go ahead in an area, this Guadalupe River, which, as Ben stated correctly before, has a frequency issue of overflowing. All right. And yes, it was one of these once in 100-year type floods. I get it. We lived through it here in New York with, what was it, Katrina. I get it. I remember. I really do. I truly remember. But at some point in time, you must realize and own a responsibility that there is loss of life, and to protect in their honor, in the honor of those who've lost their life. Let's just put the money back. Let's hire people, scientists, professionals, not big balls and a bunch of, 21-year-old techno bros who think that they could figure out an algorithm in order to do this. Fuck that. It's not true. It doesn't happen. I've just had enough of the bullshit, because at the end of the day, who is it that suffers? It's us, the American people. And I'm done. I'm done with that. It's why I constantly say to people always, do you subscribe to Midas Touch Network? Are you one of the 5 million people? Because with all due respect, 5 million is an enormous number. 5 million ain't going to do it. 10 million's not going to do it. The Democratic Party has a problem in terms of its headquarters. And you know what? Midas Touch is at the top of that sort of headquarter, but not when you're talking about, groups of individuals like the Republican Party that operate like a pyramid, where at the very, very top is Donald Trump, who passes out information. We don't have that in the party, and that's what we're trying to do. And with your help, we'll get there. And the faster we do, the faster we make sure that shit like this never happens again. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. We're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.